Hey everybody, it is Tuesday and it's time for this week's De-JOE-tional. I am sitting at home in front of my favorite Christmas decorations, my Lego Christmas village. Those lights down there are much brighter than those up there. But I've got all kinds of Santa and elf things over there, Christmas decorations. So that's my favorite Christmas display. And then up on top, that's my regular Lego City display. That's less than half of what I have. Woo-hoo. All right, so we were back together with GPS. We started a 2-week series for Advent called No Room. And it's a lesson that we can all relate to a little bit. We tend to push Jesus further and further away, further aside. We're so busy with our schedules that we just kind of put them out of our minds. And that's got to change. It's got to change. But I know that we talked with the youth last night that if they have a soccer game or a dance recital or cheer competition or something on Sunday morning, for example, are they going to tell their coach, no, I'm sorry, I can't make it to that game because I have to go to church? No, they're not going to. There's a very short window that they get to participate in those things. Now, I'll say this. Shame on the sports, shame on the coaches, shame on the choir directors and theater directors and all those people that schedule things on Sunday morning. But as we've talked about before, Sunday mornings are just no longer sacred. That's why things like this, the De-JOE-tional and other weekly Bible studies that we have going on, and the streaming of the service on Sunday that people can watch at any time are so valuable, because churches that rely solely on Sunday mornings are going to fail because we're already losing that battle, right? Anyway, getting off topic. We tend to let those things push Jesus further and further aside. Now, I've mentioned before in a De-JOE-tional about Franklin Covey. There was a Franklin time management course that years ago I went to as a sales rep, and many people had the Franklin planner and went to their seminars and read the books on Franklin time management. And Franklin time management taught us how to prioritize your schedule. That, okay, all of these things here are A's, which means they need to be done first. These next things are B's, and these are C's, and so on. Because I guess they figured at the time that we were kind of spinning our wheels and wasting time doing C and D priorities when we needed to focus on A's. Anyway, it taught us how to do that. And then once we got the A's done, then the B's became A's and everybody moved up and blah, blah. And then Stephen Covey came out with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in that, he taught us how to schedule our priorities. Instead of prioritizing our schedule that Franklin taught us, Covey taught us to schedule our priorities. And the companies merged, and now it's Franklin Covey for those of you that are in the biz. Anyway, that's really the focus that we need to do. We need to look at our priorities in our life and figure out what should be scheduled. What are our priorities? And if we have a lot of C and D type things interfering with our A's, we need to refocus that and refocus our attention on that. Now, let me say this. I know that there are different times and different windows of opportunity where conflicts are going to happen. Sunday sports has been a huge issue with our youth, with our family, with other families. And I know that Sundays aren't sacred like they used to be. They're not reserved for that. When I was a kid, The only time we had a Sunday morning game, a soccer game, was if we were in a tournament or we were out of town doing something. But now we have teams holding practices on Sunday mornings. That wasn't heard of back then. We have our public schools now used to have Sundays. They didn't do anything on Sundays. They're holding practices and rehearsals and stuff like that. It's not just sports. It's theater, it's choir, it's all kinds of extracurricular activities. Any day is open now. Nothing is sacred anymore. So that's why things like the De-JOE-tional, other Bible studies that we have, the small groups during the week, the streaming of the service that we do every Sunday are so important, because we have to bring worship to the people. They're not. If we rely on just Sunday morning, we're going to fail. It's already happening. Not just our church, but the church. So we have to make room for Jesus, though. And I told the kids another story about prioritizing this. And I didn't want to say, hey, you really should be at GPS instead of at home doing your homework, or you need to be at GPS instead of going shopping or whatever. No. Several years ago, when the St. Louis Rams were in town, we're still here in St. Louis, back in the when they were really good, in the Super Bowl years, 99, 2000, those areas. We were attending Main Street, and I sang in the choir, but there was a Sunday morning that the Rams played at noon in St. Louis at home, and I went to the early worship service that day and didn't stay for choir to sing at the late service. And the director of the choir at the time came up to me and was dead serious and said, "Do the Rams come before the Lord?" And I said to her just as seriously, "Only when they play at home." Now, she did not like that answer at all, but scheduling conflicts happen. And yeah, I wanted to go to the game that day. So I get it that at times things are going to happen. The sports and all the extracurricular activities that I talked about, these kids are in a short window of time that's going to be an interference. And then they're going to be done with that and get older and then make their own decisions on whether or not to come and do all that. But so we don't have to necessarily prioritize attending worship on Sunday morning or attending GPS Sunday evening or a particular Bible study. But we do have to make room for Jesus somewhere. You can read online devotionals. You can read your Bible. You can pray every day. You can do all kinds of other things. You can read other self-help Christian books or whatever you want to do. You can do stuff on your own and then get to church when you can get to church for that big uplifting service. But you just can't completely move him out. You got to make room for him in your life. So when Jesus was born, we all know the story that there was no room in the inn. So they went to a stable, and the Bible doesn't tell us how many houses or how many different inns they tried to find. They didn't. It doesn't tell us how much time they spent looking for a place to stay. We just assume that they didn't just show up in town and say, "Hey, where's the first stable to go to?" We imagine they looked around, and everybody said no. There was nothing. There was an innkeeper that said, "Well, yeah, I'm pretty booked up, but really, I guess if you want to stay in the stable where the donkeys and cows are, I guess you can go in there." And then, of course, we have Mary and Joseph, who had planned everything like newlywed couples do when they're expecting their child. They plan everything. And then, Caesar says, we're going to do the census and we're going to do all this. So their plans got all out of whack, but they at least had some. So you had three different people. You had the townspeople like, no, you can't stay here. The innkeeper that, okay, I guess if there's nothing else better, I can put you in here. And then we have Mary and Joseph that will do absolutely anything for their unborn child. So we ended our discussion last night with this question. Who do you most associate with in your life? Are you more like the townspeople that, no, I don't have room for you? Are you like the innkeeper that, okay, I got room for you, I guess I can squeeze you in? Or are you like Mary and Joseph that will do whatever you can for Jesus? Now, the kids were very honest that they're pretty much like the innkeeper. I think we all are. We tend to not really think about it. On Sunday mornings and during youth group, it's the right thing to say, oh, of course Jesus is first and all that. But when we're driving in our car on a Thursday afternoon, is Jesus really first on our minds? I would say probably not in most cases. What do we have to do to move from, if you're a townsperson, what do you have to do to move up to innkeeper status? If you're an innkeeper, what do you have to do to move up to Mary and Joseph status? That's really something only you can answer for yourself. The world did not make room for Jesus at the time. Even though the prophets said he was coming for 700 years, they were not ready for him. Right when he was on the doorstep, no, we don't have room for you. Where are you with your life? Are you committed to Christ? Are you committed to what his calling is of you and of us? Are you committed to being a follower of his? Are you committed to leading others to be followers of his? Or is it just something you do when you got nothing else better to do? Something to think about this week. I think that's it. I think that's enough. Sue, think that's enough? She hates when I do that. All right. That's our De-JOE-tional for this week. Think about it. This is a perfect time of year to be recommitting yourself to Jesus. Jesus is about to be born. Jesus is about to be the light into our darkness. Be the light in somebody's darkness this Advent season. Blessings, Godfrey First.